1980s right up until 1990. We're supposed to forget about that, aren't we? Well, I'm not going to forget about who armed our enemies. U.S. supplied germs to Iraq, but that's okay because now the globalists get to steal their oil after they set Saddam up for this. You know, it's like the old westerns where the evil sheriff throws down the gun, in front of the 14-year-old kid's feet and says, "Go ahead, pick it up, boy, pick it up." When the little kid makes a reach for it, the sheriff guns him down. I'm not going to put up with this. It's so obvious what they're doing. Another example of problem, reaction, solution. And what happened because this government, this global government, armed Saddam with chemicals and biologicals? Well, in 91, during the Gulf War, Bush wanted to get rid of the evidence, Bush Sr., so he publicly had our troops blow up all these different bunker complexes. Hundreds of them, the size of football fields. And all of this nerve gas and thousands of chemical weapons detectors went off, rained down, and the VA said, "No, you're not sick, and we don't care if the chemical weapons detectors went off. You're not going to get any treatment." And tens of thousands of troops have died. And the government tried to deny it for a decade. And like they always do, they said, "Oh yeah, there are atomic soldiers. Oh yeah, there is Agent Orange. Oh yeah, we did let black men die of syphilis for 50 years. Oh yeah, we did sterilize hundreds of thousands of women with eugenics and a Nazi program in America. And oh yeah, you were hit by sarin and VX and we didn't treat you, but so what?" When are you going to start waking up? So how did Iraq get their weapons? The globalists sold it to them. And then our own government blew the stuff up and let our troops breathe it. But supposedly supporting the troops now means that you don't give them any treatment when they've been injured in battle. Why couldn't they treat them? Because people bring up the fact that Saddam got these weapons from our own government, and our government had our troops blow up the evidence and then breathe it. Another problem, reaction, solution, another crisis, another area of government-sponsored terrorism we see is the FBI seeking 3,000 missing Iraqis in America. Of course, they don't mention in these articles that it was the U.S. government who trained these Iraqis in the 80s when Saddam was our ally, brought them back in after the Gulf War under Bush and under Clinton, and that, yes, these Iraqis were involved on the scene at Oklahoma City. No, they want to be able to use that story whenever it suits them to claim that Saddam has Iraqis here, these terror cells, attacking us. And then hopefully we'll just forget about the fact that it was the U.S. government that brought them into the country in the first place. Bottom line, these are the CIA's Iraqis. These are not Saddam's Iraqis. That's the facts. In fact, you can go back to a 1993 Los Angeles Times article, headline, "Iraq POWs paid to resettle in U.S., lawmakers protest." Or another article back in 93 where congressmen, 80 plus of them, warned the people that this could be dangerous. Resettling Iraqi POWs in U.S. criticized. Lawmakers urged Clinton to end potentially dangerous. And of course, when they were involved in the Oklahoma City bombing, working with their federal handlers, that was covered up so they could later link the Iraqis to the American right wing, one of the few groups actually fighting the New World Order. And years ago, I predicted they would do just that because it was clear the frame-up they were setting up. Did you know that police, good FBI, actually arrested 5 members of the Iraqi Republican Guard right after the Oklahoma City bombing? They had surveillance camera tapes with the Iraqis on video with McVeigh outside. But again, they were all just patsies and decoys. The feds were inside planning the bombs, and witnesses saw them doing it. Clinton then ordered the FBI to release these Iraqis. Think about that. And they have the surveillance tape of them doing it. But then the media comes out and says, "Oh, Saddam's seen using proxy groups, lone wolves to attack the U.S., the left wing, the right wing. Why, they all work for Saddam." And now they can use the enemy combatant designation against the American people and strip us of our rights by creating this tenuous link. And then they had their little proxies in the media. You talk about proxies. The government started having its little moles in the media put out the headlines. "Did Timothy McVeigh have Iraqi helpers?" Ooh. Yeah, he had Iraqi helpers, but they don't work for Saddam. They work for the globalist. Rumsfeld, defense secretary, they admit they have a group called P2OG that goes out and kills people's family members to get them to attack America so the globalists have a pretext to invade more countries. Another amazing revelation. It's all out in the open. In fact, it's now come out that the U.S. helped as Saddam plotted chemical attacks, reports said in the London Guardian. Remember those nerve gas attacks back in the 1980s? Of course, I've interviewed some of the top CIA officials who were there in the 80s briefing Ronald Reagan on my radio show, and it was clear that Saddam was in a chemical weapons battle with the Iranians, but the Kurds that died actually died by a cyanide-based gas that the Iranians used, that they got from the Soviets, not the gas that Saddam got from the U.S. That's why the CIA had all this footage of these dead bodies. In fact, back in the 80s, it was blamed on Iran. But again, using doublethink, later it's blamed on Saddam. It's incredible. And you ought to see the thugs that they're now planning to put in to install to oppress the Iraqi people now that they've gotten rid of Bush's first business partner in Iraq, Saddam Hussein. Shifting gears, remember earlier I mentioned that it's not just the Germans controlling the neo-Nazi groups or the British blowing up their own buildings to set up a police state and blame it on their political enemies. There were a lot of articles in 2002 and 2003 in Haaretz, UPI, Reuters about Mossad, Israeli intelligence in 1973 founding Hamas. And then in 2001 and 2002, arming groups of Palestinians that are in their employ. They were caught red-handed doing this to carry out terrorist attacks, so the Israelis have an excuse to expand their settlements and crack down and crush the Palestinians. Again, always look at the motive. In fact, all these mainstream articles were condensed in an amazing story in Media Bypass. But I think the story tells 1,000 words. Mossad exposed in phony Palestinian al-Qaeda caper, and you have this black glove with a lighter marked Mossad with a dynamite tied to the Israeli flag. Again, a picture does tell 1,000 words. And by Mossad carrying that out, they have the pretext to take total control of that entire region. Problem, reaction, solution, over and over again. In fact, here's the analysis, Hamas history tied to Israel, United Press International, by Richard Sale, and it details this. Here is another one for the Center for Research on Globalism. Israeli roots of Hamas are being exposed. Not just the roots, but modern-day terrorism controlled by Israel. I mentioned this story out of the Sunday Herald. The Army asked me to make bombs for the IRA, told me I had the Prime Minister's blessing. Exclusive confessions of a secret agent. British intelligence, Army intelligence. IRA torture was in the Royal Marines. Loyalist killer admits to being RUC informer. Oh, before I forget, another tidbit in this information overload. The London Guardian broke a story on March 26, 2001. It came out in court in Italy. The former head of Italian intelligence said that in the 1970s, the left wing was getting out of the control of the government. And so the CIA went in and hired the right wing to carry out terrorist attacks to be blamed on the left wing. Headline, terrorists helped by CIA to stop rise of left in Italy. So if the left gets out of the control of the globalists and off the reservation, the globalists will blow stuff up and blame it on the left. If the right gets out of their control, they'll blow stuff up and blame it on the right. It's done over and over and over again. Just another example. Here's another one. Al-Qaeda suspects hidden by UK agents. Jack Straw, foreign minister for Britain, faces government grilling over Bali bombing. Turns out that they, quote, had prior knowledge and told the Bali's government not to warn the people. They also told the Taiwanese found out about it, and the U.S. government told them not to warn the folks.